Welcome back, everybody, to Doom 2016 with number one sarcasm. We're in Argentina for the final stretch, the final episode of 2016. What happened last time? We've destroyed Vega, backed him up, made our way into hell, and we're attempting to shut the well. This episode started... Oh, well, the level took me about 2 hours. And most of that came down to the final few fights before the Spider Mastermind. They're a lot harder than I thought. But this is the level that I remembered this game for more than any other. Outside of maybe the opening level. And I'm gonna say most of them... Oh, well, sorry. But the first level and this one don't actually appear to be that long if you look at like geographically where you start compared to where you finish. You don't seem to travel anywhere near as far. But what makes them stand out for me at least is the fight itself. Now we saw, I'm just double checking my weapons, my equipment. And it's funny, I've been doing that for years in like FPS games or any game in particular where it's level based like this. At the beginning of every level, I always check my equipment just to double check and get my bearings. And I remember learning that from my dad, watching him play arguably the worst Turok game, Evolution on PS2. Every time he'd start a new level, he'd go through and he'd double check all of his weapons, what ammo he's got left, and I picked up on that trait. I'm sure I'm not the only one that did it, but it's funny to think all that way back to when I was probably about 10 or so. I'm just like, oh, that's a hell of a smart idea, and it just kind of stuck with me. This, like I was saying, this level and the first one, they stick with me as to what I remember and what I feel about this game. Purely because the first level opens spectacularly. It sets up the game beautifully. And this one being the culmination of everything you've experienced, everything you've learned, all the progress that you've made over the course of the game. This is where it all comes together. It's all super important. This is the climax after all. The fights are more bombastic. There's just an army of demons. And it feels like where you've been fighting an army over the course of the game, this one level contains another whole separate army worth in and of itself. And just tearing through it all, while challenging, was super fucking satisfying. I have a funny little appreciation now for summoners, just because they've become like my priority target, and where they replace the Archvile as that priority. The summoner is still kind of scary. It doesn't carry the same weight, but it certainly carries a similar priority target mid-combat. That being the first fight, kinda nothing too strenuous. I mean, I did use a BFG shot, and I probably didn't need to, but it kicks it off well. Kinda says, hey, here we are. Don't be expecting these little skirmishes that you've had throughout the rest of the game. You should be expecting the absolute worst the demons have, or well, I suppose the absolute best that the demons have to throw at you at this stage. Now I'm not sure why we get this little moment here. It's a bit of a respite. You're just smacking around fodder. It feels a little bit slow by the comparison to the rest of the level. I think probably could have gone without this, but because like that little mini map there, I see it, like I get it, I know why it's there, because there are secrets to this level, there is stuff to find if you want to find it. But it doesn't feel anywhere near as important as the rest of it did throughout the game. I think because at this point I'm really not so fussed with trying to find all the stuff. This is it, I just want to fight demons. I'm surprised it took me as long to discover how useful the chain gun is against the Cacos. Because I've really kind of ignored this weapon most of the time that I've had it. Mobile turret, it comes in handy, no doubt, no doubt. I really love the Weldo just floating ominously in the background. That's what we came here for, that's what we have to destroy. There's no secret, there's no ambiguity to that. Your target kind of just hangs ominously in the sky there. So this is the first of the 3 major battles in the game, or fights in this level. That is, of course, excluding the Spider Mastermind. That's a whole thing in and of itself, but these battles really just ramp everything up. And they themselves ramp up as you progress from 1 to 2 to 3. It's really fun. I think this one, I don't think this one was too bad. But you shall see how I progress through it. I still struggle with a bit of movement, and I think that's partially due to my lack of mobility options. I can jump or I can move forwards. Sometimes feels like it wants you to be a Beyblade. I don't know if you can master that, or just paying attention to every direction that they're coming at you. I mean, it's overwhelming, so it's hard. Oh, the music ramps up, and I don't know why, but it's never felt as grand as it does here. I'm sure that's intentional. Nearly got swiped by him. And so yeah, that was it. I think that's the only death for this particular fight. But we'll see plenty more as things go on. And I'll talk a little bit more of the deaths that you'll see as I go. And even using the plasma gun, I've hated that just as much as I've avoided the chain gun, because it's really not my favorite weapon. It doesn't feel like it has any weight to it. It's just a, how do I describe it? Probably feels more like a Nerf gun than anything. It's like, even though I don't use the assault rifle, I love that a lot more, and I think because it feels like it has a shitload more weight. avoiding the power-ups though, that's I don't know if it's a bad habit I've got. But in my mind, when I come across them, I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, there's gonna be a particular part of this fight that I'm probably gonna need that for, so I'll save it. And then oftentimes I do end up just not using it because I'm waiting for something bigger. I feel that probably has become a little bit of a shortcoming in a lot of my encounters and a lot of my fights. I could have won or I could have survived because there is that power up to even the odds. But nonetheless, I think I did pretty well. Apparently I've just bounced over that second pinky. They're all the same monster, one just has social anxiety. Just listen to the soundtrack going hard there. Those slippery little fucking imps, they always manage to just evade me. I love you can hear the pinky just kind of bonking around there on his own while he's trying to figure out how to get to me. I gotta say, I've found a new appreciation for the Hellraiser in this level as well. I've kind of really hated them the whole time, but then in these couple of encounters I found they added a nice little bit of challenge, because it's not like I just wait for a fireball to pass by you like that one just did. This is a solid beam you have to really watch out for. But I've enjoyed fighting them a whole lot more in this level than I have anywhere else. Fucking Lost Souls! At this point, I could have sworn there was another one that I didn't kill. And I kind of chased after him because I want to get rid of him first, but I don't know, he just disappeared. I'm not sure where he went. That was fucking cool. I think that's just about it. These couple guys are the last ones. Oh, and the splatter, and just all those little health pickups. Always super satisfying. If nothing else, that is one thing this game, and I gotta say the next one as well, did master, was just when you get a splash kill like that, nothing else like it. That is our first Wraith Soul. I, while playing, somehow managed to miss the fact that what's his name? The little spectre bloke that's standing there pointing you to the next place. Can't remember what they're called, but I was so oblivious in just getting to the next objective or the next fight. I didn't notice he was standing there. This fight here, this took me a couple of attempts, but ultimately wasn't so bad. It's more just that these fights do take a while. Every time you think you've gotten to the end of the fight, a whole nother wave will just spawn in, just to fuck your day up. And it's nice, because it feels unpredictable, it feels overwhelming. This is, yeah, you can tell they really don't want you to get to those wraiths. And you truly truly feel like a one-man army. Like for now, this kind of fight is like, oh, yeah, okay, there's nothing really too strenuous going on. And the music tells you that too. Yeah, it's pretty quiet at the moment, it's pretty simple, there's, yeah, not a lot to worry about. And moments like this where you've got only a couple of imps, I get lost. Or in the sense that I'm looking for the last couple of demons, I don't know where they are. Because they kind of just blend into the environment. Especially the hell environments. They're so hard to see sometimes. They're just as orange and grey as the environment is. That I think is a bit satisfying. The heat blast on the odd occasion I use it. Once you've got it at max power, and it does just sort of fry everything around you, it's kind of fun. Oh, see, this Hellraiser is a perfect example as he's just flinging his beam back and forth. Like that can be a surprising death if you're not paying attention. I don't know what I was shooting at there. I feel like I probably should have actively worked on weapon mastery a bit more, but it doesn't really matter. Nice. I don't think I've ever gotten a chainsaw kill on a Spectre. Kinda want to try that now. Maybe if I remember, they show up in Eternal, don't they? Spectres? Oh. If I remember, I'll check it out when I get around to playing that. Which, at this stage, I think I'll probably start Eternal after New Year's. We'll get into the new year, we'll get into a new game. That'll be good. Sending off my last BFG hit there. I think I was aiming to take out the Cyber Mancubus. Or at least, I was aiming to take out another one. Oh, there he goes. And I gotta say, I think I mentioned it in an earlier episode as well, but I fucking hate the Cyber Mancubus. Like the regular ones, they're bad enough. Ah, there we go. The few deaths I had for this fight, I think that's about it. Now the regular Mancubus, right? He's tough enough. What did he just say? Doesn't matter. Pinkies, I think, as much as I hate them, that they kind of just, it doesn't feel like they should be able to turn like they do. For that enemy type, they turn really quickly, and it always throws me off. I get fucking bulldozed by them because they actually didn't skip leg day or yoga. Mobile as fuck. Whereas the Hell Knight feels, what word am I looking for? His movements feel very stagnant and slow, and like what I would expect the Pinky to feel like. The Hell Knight feels exactly like that. Like when he's jumping across from one platform to another, and he his movement slows right down for a second. I can get that from a Pinky. Maybe that's just because he's not spending as much time jumping around. He just has to make contact with you. Now rare use of the combat shotgun. I like it, I think it's a good starter weapon, but for a Nightmare run especially, kind of feels obsolete after a little while. And I just wasted shitloads of time with that Berserk power up trying to hit the, what is it, the Revenant in the air? It's kind of surprising though that there isn't a mid-air animation to kill them. I think. Do I manage to get the Kako before it runs out? No. Oh. Because I'm sure there's a Berserk animation for the Kako, but it's a purely airborne enemy. Oof. Fuck, I'm not happy with my use of the BFG there. I don't know if I was pretty liberal with it. I'm gonna blame the fact that I'm playing on console for the fact that I relied on the BFG to clear out some of the really tough enemies in these fights. I think... Oh, that's rough. I think we're nearly done there. Kind of feels like everything is beginning to ease off. Don't tell me I'm gonna use this here. I really shouldn't. If I do, I'm gonna be fucking annoyed with myself. Are they infighting? They're fucking infighting. Nice. I shouldn't have done that. One of the things you notice when you're watching all this back, you just have time to focus on what all the demons are doing that aren't directly in your line of fucking gun sights. Whoa! Yeah, see, I don't think I needed to do that. Like, I probably could have survived without the BFG there, but spur of the moment shit, you know? That's the second Wraith down. Like, he takes a little glance at the well before he does this, and you can see it degrade. A little more damage there, and then the next one it's just, it looks so fucking unstable. But to take a look at it just after, it doesn't appear to have changed much. So I like that somehow, while you're doing all this shit, it does change. I wonder if it's those little transitions between caves that does it. That wouldn't surprise me, actually. Ah, now. I'm looking at this fight hating because this one fight took up most of the runtime of this whole level. And this is here just a collection of all of my deaths from this. Wow. That, he fucking hit me from behind! There was another Mancubus standing next to the Cyber then. And I will admit, that was a pretty dumb choice to put myself right in the middle of them just for the glory kill. But hubris is the downfall of man. I wanted the glory. Otherwise though, let's enjoy this fight together. They took me ages, yes. But when you do finally get to the end of it, it's relief in one way, I remember, because it took me so long, I was super satisfied to get to the end of it. But once again, I can't help but reiterate that this game really does make me feel like a god with a predisposition towards guns. No, that's the wrong word. Whatever. I like guns. I am a god. Fuck you, Pinky. But how long? I think this still took me at least a good 5 more minutes. And that's the thing, if you look at someone and say, oh yeah, no, you've got 5 minutes before you need to leave the house or something. It's like, oh, that's fine, that's not much time. I can like brush my teeth or change my pants or whatever, chuck on a pair of shoes and off we go. You say, oh, a gunfight in this game, in this particular game too, is gonna take you 5 minutes. It's like, what the fuck are we doing for 5 solid minutes? If a Call of Duty fight lasts 5 minutes, probably because you're playing on fucking Veteran. If a Doom fight lasts for 5 minutes, probably because you have your ass handed to you. And as we can see, as we did see, that is exactly what happened. I got fucked over and over and over. And in moments like this, where there aren't so many super heavies, it's just a little fodder, maybe a few imps or a possessed soldier, maybe a Hellraiser or two. I find myself running around these little nooks just trying to find anything that might just keep me alive for another split second. And then they spawn these in, and it's like, that's where it makes the difference. Where having another piece of armor or anything along those lines might just save you from death. And that's terrifying as well when they get that close. That Mancubus just jumping up out of the corner of the screen. Holy fuck, I gotta get away! And they make it interesting in the enemy variety because you don't always have the option of fighting from a distance when you've got a massive demon you can't afford to be getting close to. They won't let you stay too far away because there's always something that's going to come chasing you, so you have to move. You have to keep distance from that. And I mean, like a Mancubus is always going to try its best to encroach upon you if it has to. But if you're trying to keep your distance, you'll then be assailed by something like a Revenant that's also going to make you move further and further around, so you can't just strafe back and forth. Or the Baron's going to chase you, or a Hell Knight, or a Pinky. But trying to prioritize a target, it's more than just, oh, okay, you shoot this thing. It's like, shoot it, and shoot it fucking quick. So you can get back to shooting the other thing even quicker. And at that, all 3 Wraith Souls have been absorbed? Either way, the well's done. Pretty much closed. The demons, they can't make their way back to Mars, at least for now. They'll find their way. But this part here, look at her eyes.
They promised me so much.
I know she always looks frail or antagonistic. There's just a hatred for you. But in this moment, realizing she's been betrayed, her eyes look faded. Or I don't know what the term for it is. But she She looks like all of her energy has just been drained out of her. It's kind of, she's covered in blood. Like, it's horrifying to see. What has happened to her since we last saw her? But I think the last time we saw her anyway was at the top of the Argent Tower, which was fucking forever ago. And it is from that moment to this one that I kind of forget she exists sometimes, and I forget that that's who we've been chasing most of the game. We know she's out there somewhere, and it's like we failed in trying to stop her doing what she wanted, but she's still alive at the end of it, and this is what she becomes. And I mean, I've played the original Dooms, and the Spider Mastermind there, I do remember it also being a terrifying fight. Yeah. The first time I got up to it, I can't remember how young I was, but it took me quite a while to get there. And it took me a while longer to beat the Mastermind as well. Now I go back and play it, and it's not that hard. Then I got here, and I also remember this being a lot harder than I felt it was this time. It's kind of tense, because my health bar never really sat much higher than around the 20 to 45 mark, about that. So there's just any other hit if I fuck up is gonna kill me. Like that right there, if I didn't have saving throw, I would have been dead. And I think without it, I think this fight would have taken me a few tries, but the fact that I was able to clutch that with saving throw is the one reason that I managed this fight in the one go that I did. And it's fun because her attacks are a little more intimidating than I expect them to be. The claw attack, the swipe attack, it's never that bad. It's this grenade thing that fucks me up most of the time. I'm not sure why or how, but the radius on the grenades is always just more than I expect it to be. Yeah, and I didn't know that was gonna happen. I genuinely didn't. I really thought the pillar would be fine. Sure, again, there's a use for the mobile turret. You've got about 3 seconds, roughly, to just deal a fair chunk of damage, and then yeah, the fight's good. It keeps you moving. There's very rarely a moment where you aren't being attacked, or at least you aren't afforded a moment where you can't be preparing or responding to something. The second she's done with one attack, she might do this blue energy pillar thing. And I like the different phases, because I hadn't seen that for a hot minute since she started doing this attack. Started doing this and threw the grenades out, and then you get the telekinesis. That's every time you figure out one set of moves, you've also just barely managed to get to a point where it's another phase. It's time for another move, something else to survive. Ooh, and I nearly died there too. Fuck. Why was I using this? I think, am I out of ammo for everything else? Maybe. I don't know. Much like how I ended up relying on the rocket launcher and Gauss cannon midway through the game. It feels like that's what I was relying on. Maybe not both of those so much, but The rocket launcher definitely, and the chain gun was a big one for the moments where I got to stand on the pillar. But another thing I like now that I'm watching it back as well is really being able to take in the atmosphere in the arena. Like, you've always got the sparks flying in the background, the electricity crackling. But the walls start off grey, right? And when she starts doing the AoE attack, the blue shit, it turns blue. Then you get here, and is it? Yeah, that's right. She tries to regain some health somehow, and I did prevent most of that with the BFG. But that blue smoke, that blue energy that was there a second ago, turns red. You can see the mastermind on its last legs. It's, you know, it's weaker. And I'm not sure how that happened. I don't know why she just lost that whole little last chunk of health in one go, but I was just waiting for another attack here, so I'm like, let's just keep firing. There it is. The glorious of kills, the final blow. And just that image, the pulsing brain was missing half the head. Fuck, that's cool.
You've won. It's over. You stopped the invasion and closed the portal. But it's come at a price. Argent, Vega, this entire operation. You see, I've watched you work, come to understand your motivation. You think the only way is to kill them all, leave nothing behind. And you may be right. But we can't just shut it all down. Without Argent energy, it will be worse. I don't expect you to agree. But with this, we can continue our work. I am not the villain in this story. I do what I do because there is no choice.
Rerouting tether coordinates complete.
Our time is up. I can't kill you, but I won't have you standing in our way. Until we see each other again.
That's fucking awesome. I don't know whether they had the story for Doom Eternal sort of fleshed out or how far through that process they were. But Hayden's words there, he's not the villain, things will be worse and he has no choice. It hits so much harder, or it hits so differently, knowing what's going to happen, knowing who he really is. But that was it. That was Doom 2016, and now we get this really cool credits with all these awesome little images. And I suppose for my final thoughts. This game, since I first picked it up, is still one of my favorite games. And I said early on in this, in the first few episodes, that Doom 2016 is my favorite of the reboot, I guess. But I think I think a bit of that is I'm gonna say nostalgia. No, it's only been nearly 8 years. Okay. But I remember when I first got it, and it was amazing. I fucking loved it. But I think having a bit more maneuverability and weapon choices in Eternal, I forgot how much you were lacking in this, even though you're more than capable at every opportunity. I think I miss a couple of those things. But in terms of the way that they handle the story, the way that they handle how you as the Doom guy, how you move through it, I do still prefer this one. I like the Praetor suit more in this one. I think the shoulder-mounted grenade launcher, I do like that, the look of that in Eternal, but it doesn't take away from how much I fucking love the Praetor suit in this. The guns, for the most part, feel weighty. They feel like every time you manage to hit an enemy, you've done real damage. Doesn't feel like a pea shooter against a brick wall. The glory kills, they're always great. I will say, after a while, seeing the same animations over and over and over, it can get a bit stale. And I have the same issue with Eternal as well. Some of the animations get a bit stale, but they're still fucking sick. Like, look at these poses. Can you imagine if they had written it differently and you do sort of get to see from this third person perspective the way that Doom guy is reacting to everything? I think that'd be pretty fucking cool. It's just the confidence standing there staunching up to a Mancubus with a combat shotgun. It really is an amazing game. I fucking love it. The soundtrack goes hard. The visuals still are really, really beautiful. I know there are better looking games, but I'm never not gonna love Doom 2016. But here we are. We ripped and we tore, and now it is done. And I'll see you all for Doom Eternal next year.